Hello everyone. It seems like it's been forever since we first started this series, but now we're coming down to the last bits. We just did aluminum overcast. We learned about air units. Okay, we learned about air bases. We learned how to attack with air units. We learned how to set up stations, how to intercept. We learned how to do barrages. What I learned personally is that air units are great, but they're not so awesome as far as barraging goes. Interceptors are great, obviously, for intercepting other units, but barraging and artillery, it's something that you're going to need to bring a lot of units for, and if you combine them with artillery, air barrages can be very powerful. All right, I learned that flak isn't so great either. You might get, a result in your favor, but you can't depend on that as well. So now we're going to go into the final training scenario, scenario 6, forward at the run march, and literally we're going to add everything. 2 turns, everything that we learned into one scenario. So I'll see you soon. Okay, so now we're ready to play the next scenario. It is called Forward at the Run March. Now, this is not necessarily a learning scenario. It's just it's basically a campaign scenario to play with all the stuff that we learned so far. Literally all the units that we had from all the little scenarios are here. The Soviet Union is going to try and take Konotop, while the Germans are going to try and take Orel. Now, you got the airplanes, you've got your supply units, you've got your trucks, you've got everything here. When we come back in the next segment, we're going to actually play this game. Now, I'm not going to bore you with every step of the process. I'm just going to go through the basics. The objective of this game was to learn OCS, and I think we did a pretty damn good job. We came a long way. Now, it's a 2-turn game, so I may play the whole game just for the sake of it, and I'm only going to showcase the rules that we've gone through and that we have not discovered yet, okay? Significant stuff, all right? I don't care about movement and basic combat, but, if I can do an air barrage with an artillery barrage, I'll show that. Things like that, so stay tuned. So step 1 in the phase record track is going to be, well, we don't have weather, okay? So we're going to bypass that. And we're going to go to supply usage segment, right? Now, this is where the game's going to get a little interesting right off the bat. Everybody does this at one point in time. There's no first player, second player, right? I'm going to start with the air bases for the Soviets and the Germans. We'll pay for that. It's a level 2. So let's turn over to 15. There's 18 points used right away. So let's go ahead and handle the Soviets. 5 guys, so I have to leave 2 behind. Now we set up the Germans. I'm going to go ahead and pay for them. It's off camera here, but I'm going to turn over to 15 at Konotop. So he's fully supplied. I'll roll. I rolled a 5. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up, and then we're going to move on to the units. Okay, so now we're going to figure out the individual units. Now remember, you can pre-station your trucks, especially in a game like this where it's so damn small. Pre-station your trucks, and remember how you pay for them. For a truck, it costs 5 points to load supply onto the truck and then to unload it. And then, of course, whatever's left over, the 35, you have about 17 and a half movement points back and forth. So as long as you calculate that, you can station trucks. Now, the Germans have that wagon. Wagons are much smaller. I know it's a little glare there. I apologize. But the wagons are smaller with a 4. Now, he's allowed to, no, not 4, but 10. I'm sorry. That's a 10 if you can see it. Excuse me. It's the same amount of supply as the truck. I have the truck underneath this HQ right here. The way that works is it costs 2 to load and 2 to unload. So he only gets 6 movement points. That's it. That's all. So you have to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one apiece because it's clear. And of course you have the HQs within range, within 5 movement points. And that movement point is also affected by terrain. So he's well good here down in the south. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to physically, I'm sure with the pros, They don't do this, but I'm going to do this. So I'm going to put down the 4 points for each. I've already calculated it at Orel with the supply dump, and I'm going to physically put those there. And same thing here. I'm going to do the same thing with the Germans. I know that's going to be 14 and 10. So this is going to be a 10 when I'm done, and I'm going to get 2 4s. So let me do that right now. So I've got my 4. I'm doing this as a visual representation, and just like I said, it's underneath the HQ really quickly. I'm doing this as a visual representation because I'm a visual learner. Here, Konatop is going to have 10 left. So now we're set. Now I've set everything up, and now I'm going to divvy it as we go. Like I said, I'm sure the pros don't do this. I'm sure they do it off paper and they fly through it. Not me. It's going to take me a little bit longer than that, and I suggest you do that as well until you get used to the supply issue, the supply game of an OCS game. Now, the rule for the HQ is very simple. They have to be within 5 movement points of the supply dumps, and that includes all terrain. I'm perfectly fine. This guy up here is right next to the dump, while this guy right here is half 1, half 2, half 3, half 4, half 5. Okay, roads are half a point for truck movement, so you're good. All right, we're good. Now they can throw it a range of 12, and also pay attention to the movement points. If there's combat, you have to throw it directly into hex that the unit's in. If you're not in combat, at least not yet, it can go next to it. All right, so for example, all I have to do is reach next to it, and I'm good. So if this was the 12th hex from this guy, he's good, as long as he's not in combat. If it's in combat, he has to go inside. I'm going to start with these units down here with this HQ. All right, now they're not going to be able to go in full supply. All right, because I'll tell you what it is. I could go in full supply. However, I'm not going to be able to attack. I'm only going to be able to defend. So if I want to attack, I can't go in full. I'll explain. So remember, you need to spend 1 DSC is for the HQ. He's a non-divisional unit. Okay, he's still working. You got your Katyushas, you got your artillery piece, and you got your infantry. Nobody's half, everybody's full. So if I want full supply, I need all 4 points from this dump in order to supply them fully. If I go low level, I can split that in half and make it 2, have 2 points here for attacks, but I'm attacking at half the abilities. All right, it's kind of the cost of having this. So basically what I want to do is, if I'm serious about going after these guys, I need to do low supply and then build up on my next turn. It would be the same for the Germans as well. They'd have to figure it out. Now, there's some tricks that we can do here to help be more efficient with our supply points, okay? So first of all, let's look at the units that we have. All right, now this is an artillery unit. He is not fully mechanized. He's an artillery unit, okay? Remember, mechanized and armor is red backgrounds and yellow, all right? So we don't have that. He's not fully mechanized. This guy's not fully mechanized. He's partially mechanized. So he counts as 1. So these are 1 DSC, 1 DSC. This is the second one underneath. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 DSCs we need to pay for if we want to fully supply these units. Or we can also do what's called doing half supply, right? Or low supply. But then we start taking penalties in the battle. Well, I don't want that either. If I can throw supply to everybody with 1 HQ, I can shut down 1 HQ and throw that supply around. So let's shut him down. This guy has 12, so let's start with him. Actually, no, let's shut him down. Okay, I have supply here. All right, half 1, half 2, 3, 4. We got plenty. I can get to all supply bases. So let's do this. Let's shut him down for the moment. I'm just going to turn him sideways so to let him know that he's not part of it. All right. Obviously, I can do 1 to him. 1, 2, 1 to him. That's 2 points. 3. Let's see. 1, 2, and half 3, and half 4, 5. That's 5. 6, 7, 8. We have more than enough. I can literally throw enough supply so I can give 7 supply units from all of these guys, reaching all dumps, and supply these guys. And this is how you get efficient with your HQs. And I've only learned this through watching other players play the game. You can't leave everybody open. It's just not going to work. I put them on the board just to see what would happen. So what this will do now is I will take, let's just take these guys off. So let's take these guys off. Now that looks like it's not a lot, right? We have one supply, but remember, when you attack, you're attacking with tokens. So I have 4 tokens of attack here if I need to. Now the artillery is kind of expensive, but at least for defense and for movement, I have it. I'm good. I can do this. So at least I have something for the attack. And don't forget, I also have my air units that can assist. So this is me figuring out supply in a much bigger scale. Now, if anybody sees any problems with this, please let me know. First of all, I'm sorry I've been sick. So if I'm hard to understand, please let me know. But please cite your sources, okay? I appreciate that. Now, I'm going to go figure out the Germans, and I'm going to be right back. Now, the Germans are not as easy to figure out, okay? Most of their units are forward. Their bases are taken care of. The air base is done. They have 12 DSCs worth of supply needed if I want full supply. All right, now, since I'm attacking them, I don't think I want to go low supply, right? So, I have 4 DSCs here, one. I have 1 here. I've got, 2 and a tank. The tank is a 2 DSC, so, and including my HQs, that's 12. I'm going to supply from this guy. This guy's going to take care of 1, 2, 3, 4, that stack. This guy's still open. We'll come back to these guys later. 1, 2, 3, 4. This stack will take care of this. Fortunately, I'm starting the game close to my main HQ here, okay? I can still throw units from this dump at Konotop as long as I can reach them. Now, I can. If I go, remember, roads are half a military point or a movement point. Half 1, half 2, half 3, half 4, half 5. Half 1, half 2, half 3, half 4, half 5. I'm still fortunate. So I have 1 and 2 and 3, 4 more to take care of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, I have 5 to take care of. So I got to take care of 2 HQs and 3 artillery. Now that looks peaches and roses, right? That looks good. Just know that as we advance, that's going to become a problem. I'm going to have to try and figure out where to put a dump. I may not be able to station some of these guys. I might be able to station one truck and have the other guy keep moving supplies back and forth as I go. This is the beauty of OCS. You can't just go around slugging with the Soviets without your beans and your bullets. So let's go ahead and figure it out. Also, I have not taken care of all of these units yet. I have a shitload of units to take care of. I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, and 12. No mechanized. So I got 10, and then let's make this into an 18. So 10, and I'll be right back. Okay, we have fully supplied every unit in this particular game right now for the first turn. So that's going to be good for both turns. Okay, remember, you got 2 turns in a 1-turn phase. So they're good. We don't ever have to worry about that again. The problem is combat dumps. Where are we going to get the dumps at? How we're going to throw that? Obviously, we're going to have to, for the Germans, we're going to have to throw from Konotop. The Russians do have Dmitrievsky over here, but that's only a couple of tokens there. So again, we're going to have to start figuring out where we're going to start supplying the Russians and the Germans. This is where we're going to get into it as we play the game. The next phase is the reinforcement placement segment. Okay, according to the scenario rules, the Soviets in the turn 1 will receive 20 more SPs over at Orel, and the Germans will receive 10 more SPs back at Konotop. So let's go ahead and let's figure that out right now. We'll just put it right on top for now, and then we'll put the 10 down here, Konotop. Real simple. Very, very, very easy stuff. Okay, next would be the replacement reorganization segment. That's where you break down and combine units, but we haven't learned that, and we're just going to go with the rules that we were taught. And now we're going to figure out who the first person is going to be, whether gray for the Germans or red for the Soviets. Okay, the Germans will go first with a roll of 6. I'll mark that as the Germans. And now we'll start the game. So going down the list of things to do, the Germans, the first thing they would do is air unit return, which I did not send anybody out there. I keep doing this, the air unit refit. I do that a little too soon. I did that when I first supplied everybody. I shouldn't have done that then. Now we're going to do our mode determination for the Germans to figure out who's doing what, where, and how. So down here, I'm doing my mode determination. I'm deciding to flip this group over onto their movement side. Now this is down on the south end by the 12 HQ, but I'm not worried about the 12 HQ. I'm thinking ahead because here's where I want to go. Let me turn you around a little bit. Obviously, I want to head up from the south. Up here, I need to worry about where I'm going to get more of my units from this point on. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip them over. And what I meant by units, I meant supply points, excuse me. I'm probably going to end up having to take from this guy at some point. So I got to make sure I can cross. Because remember, the throw points follow MPs and the terrain as well. So this 18-0, he can go through here. He can't go through swamps. That's a swamp. I don't know if you can see that really well, but that's a swamp. So I have to figure out where he's going to go. So for example, 1, 2, 3, crossing a river, that's 5, that's 8, plus the wood, that's going to be another 3, that's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then once I clear this area, I can go anywhere I want to. So I want to make sure I get my guys up to an area that I could be supplied. This guy I'm going to have switched around because I'm sure I'm going to have to move him at some point. So I got my mode determination for the most part. The guys up north are going to keep where they are because they're really close to the enemy. These guys are coming up from the south, so I need some more movement points. Now we're going into the movement phase. I marked the furthest I can go out for supply from the 18. I don't know if you can see him. He's all the way over here. So that 18 range HQ can reach all the way over here. It's pretty impressive. So I have a lot of areas I can move. So I'm gonna move my south units up here. All right, I think that's good for now. Let's see if we can't get this guy here, this HQ. So let's get him going forward. Okay, so the Germans' move phase is now practically over. I put a couple of BF-109s out here for protection, and then a couple of JUs are gonna go in here and attack this unit and do some barraging while I move in. That shouldn't be an issue. And basically, we're all set here. So now we would go into the reaction phase. Now, during this reaction phase, that's next, the Soviets can move their air units. Okay, I got air units all the way up here. I don't know if you can see them. All right, but I'm gonna bring them down just to kind of get an idea of where the interception will occur. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's for this guy. So any air units that move along here, get close to those areas, I can intercept if I wish to. I'll keep 2 of them here. Boom. That'll be an interception. So I'll just kind of give it a mark. And I'm gonna probably bring this guy here. He'll intercept him there. Now I do have a few more guys which I want to bring in. So I can bring some guys over. Well, I got this guy here, I forgot. So I probably won't barrage then. I'm probably gonna keep them out. Besides, they can move at a later time anyway, because I haven't even moved them yet. This is just a reaction phase, so we're gonna go ahead and leave it as such, and we'll have these 2 fights to deal with. So kind of an even Steven match here. The Russians won up in the north. They made the other guy abort, whereas the German down south made the attacker abort. So nobody got hurt, just sent away, and they're done. So this is what it's looking at right now. And then we're going to have more interesting stuff coming in down here. Okay, so the results occurred off camera. I'm just letting you know what happened right now. So this guy attacked. He did a barrage. Even though he is a air unit fighter, he still has a level 2. He did nothing to these guys. Flak didn't do nothing to him. The air units came in here. These guys were actually here. The other units, the JU-87s, did nothing. Nothing happened in Flak either. The Germans won this position, and they forced this guy back with a step loss. The attackers, they had the option to retreat or take a hit, which they did. And so I removed... Okay, this guy here, he's under an RE, so I just got rid of him. I didn't want to lose footing now, at least not this early in the game. So that's where we're at. So all the combat's been done, all the air combat, all the ground combat, and I adjusted supply down there where it says 2T. I've been taking from there because the 18 can throw from there. They're within the 5 spaces, and they can throw to adjust. So that was the Axis combat segment. So we were here, we did our combat. We go into exploitation, but we didn't get an exploitation marker. So that's done for. And now we go into the cleanup phase. If there's any disorganizational markers, they get removed. But now we're going into the second player. Now it'll be the Soviet Union's move. So let's talk the Soviets. The first thing they're going to do is their air unit return. So I'm going to take those units that they've had out here. They're going to go back, and they're going to go under the air base up here. There's a reason why I kept my IL-2s inside, because of this exact reason. So while the German players still has his guys out and they can still intercept, I still have guys I could use later. All right, so let's go ahead and go on to the next section. Air unit refit. Now, I did this the wrong way. I did this a little earlier than I should have. The air units in this one have already been refit and they were sent out. So this was kind of a mistake on my part. So what it should have been was the German player did his air return, which he didn't have any at the beginning of the turn. He did his refit, then he sends his guys out. My airplanes then would not have been ready until this point now. So I did make a little bit of a mistake, so I apologize, but I want to make that clear. I was kind of out of order when I did that, but that's okay. So now it kind of, it's evened out now, so it doesn't matter. Now we'll go into the mode determination phase. All right, so a lot of my guys are ready to go. I don't think I'm going to go and do anything with mode determination. I think I'm going to keep them right where they're at as they are. But up here in Urel, I think I'm going to make them reactionary. A lot of these guys reactionary. I'm going to put like whole stacks here into reserve. They can still move, but they move at different rates and what have you. But what happens is if for some reason the Germans come at me, they could be activated. So now we're in the movement phase. These reserve units, they're going to move a little further out. I got to figure out where all their movement stuffs are. So everything's halved, right? So my lowest number here is about 3. Ooh, I got 1. I got half a movement, right? And that way I can move half. And then when my reaction phase comes, if I release them, they can move their full movement. It's a way of just getting guys around, but at slower rates. We come down here, and we can make our movements as we see fit. Now we're running low on some supply for combat, but at least they're all taken care of. I don't have to worry about them. I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this truck, and I'm going to move him back to Urel. I'm going to do my unload load for 4. So I'll take the 3, put 4 on the truck just to show it. I'm just making change here, guys. Sorry for the delay. Now, I could travel that truck where I need him to be. All right, remember, he's half points, so going back was 17.5. So I bring this truck down here, and in this movement, I'm adding basically more supply to this truck. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to do better logistics here with my trucks. I can shut down this HQ, and now I have a crap load of supply. These guys are going to be able to fight. All right, but his movement's done. He's not stationed. That truck is not stationed. So the other one underneath it is stationed. I should keep that in mind. Well, there you go. But he is vulnerable too from attack, so I have to be careful of that. Let's go ahead and start moving our guys into position. The Katyusha, let's see, 1, 2, 3. He can't really fire into there. Not yet. Not yet. The Katyushas up here, they're still sitting pretty. Katyushas are going to wait. I got these guys up in reserve at the up northeast here, and we're good. This is our movement phase for the Russians completed. I think what I'm going to do, though, just for safety, is bring this guy here. All right, I don't want him to be too open. All right, and he can still reach. He can still reach supply well over here, no problem, and throw it. So we're good so far. So now we're in the reaction phase. So the Germans don't have anything in reserve as far as ground units go. However, they can move their non-phasing airplanes. So this is going to be an issue for the Russians. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this guy down here to the Katyusha, because that's going to be really dangerous here. And I'm going to bring this guy over here to the other Katyusha. And then we're going to handle our barrage segment, which is also in this exact same moment. Now, again, I don't have any other ground units to bring into the fight. I can't release them because they're not in reserve. So let's go ahead and handle this barrage. I'll be right back. Okay, so I completed my barrage, and I rolled a 9, which is really good. And then you add the 2 on top of that, which is 4. So you got 13. But here's the problem. The Katyusha, he's under a level 1 RE. All right. So they have a barrage total of 8. I rolled a 9 plus the 4 is 13. All right, which makes it pretty good. All right. However, I have to do a few things. I have to shift over one to the left because I have no friendly units near them. Two more on, if less than 1 RE, then 2 columns to the left, so that's gone. And then, so now I get this half, and this half says I have to roll 1 die on a 4 to 6, lose 1 step, and become disorganized. Otherwise, become disorganized only. I rolled a 3. So he only becomes disorganized only. That's it. So again, that barrage table, man, I'll tell you, not the best thing out there, but it simulates the piss poor aiming and the systems of the day. So I guess I can't be too upset about it. So now we're back at the regular combat phase. We're going to start with the barrage segment first. All right. We didn't pull out our ILs for any reason, so they stayed where they were. The BF-190s did their attack, so they're gone now. All right, so now we have a coordinated attack. First, we're going to do our barrage. Only 1 unit for barrage. It has a 12. It's in a clear open space. I've got my barrage dice, so the first things first, there's no hedgehogs. All right, it's not close terrain. It's open, so it stays where it's at. The column shift, that is. All right, there are friendly agents nearby. We have several, so it stays. We don't have to worry about that either. No column shift. If less than 1 RE, shift 2 columns to the left. It's not. It's 4. It's 5. 6. It's 6. They're regiments, so they count as 6. There are 2 underneath there, so it's 6. So at 6 or more, 3 column shifts to the right. So that's a significant force there. So we're going to get 3. So 12. I'm going to move you. Prepare to move. So we're in this section right here, plus 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. Up here, that's pretty decent. Ooh, 10. So from here to here, 1, 2, 3. 10 is going to be a 1. All right, this number of lost steps and becomes disorganized. That's pretty decent for the Russians. And artillery really made a difference this time around. And that's just a barrage. So let's get the disorganized marker out. And before we even put that on there, you gotta take a hit. And that was a barrage, so I'm gonna put on anything. I'm gonna take a hit from this guy here. Let me take a hit from this guy here, the level 4, and disorganized. Perfect. Now comes the attack, which is going to be even better. All right, so let's go through our sequence summary really quickly together. The attacker identifies the defending hex and attacking ground units. Okay, so we got these guys here going into the DG. All right, the attacker announces whether it is an at all cost attack, which it won't. We did that in the earlier scenario. I don't think I'm gonna do this here in this game. The attacker identifies his action rating unit, followed by the defender identifying his. Now remember, this is important. We got 3 and 2 and 2. All right, so we're gonna choose this guy. He's gonna be the action rating. All right, and then this guy underneath is 4 minus 1. So I'm not gonna use him. Let's use this guy because he's still a 4. Because that DG, he took a step loss, so he loses an action rating for that step loss, if I remember correctly. Let me double check. So I checked, no, because it's a DG, he gets the less than 1 of his action rating, so that's a 3. So I'm gonna use this guy instead as part of that attack. But remember, whatever attacks that the Russians do, any successful attacks hits this guy first, and vice versa for this one here. The attacker identifies his action rating, followed by the defender. Soviets minus the Germans. So it's going to be a -1 for the Soviets. All right. Determine the odds. Before we do that, let's do our surprise roll. 6, 7, the Soviets roll, -1, which is 6. There is no surprise. So that's done and over with. Good. Now we're going to determine the final DRM. So we're going to roll our dice. 6. The Soviets rolled a 6, 32. All right, -1, which is a 5, I forgot, because of the Germans. 7, 14, and his attack is halved because he got hit. So that's 10. So it's 24. 24. So 24 to 32. So the Soviets, after calculation, it always rounds down or rounds up. So it's going to be 1-to-1 odds for the Soviets. So we're going to be on this table right here. All right, I'm going to roll minus the 1 because of the Germans. Ooh, not good. So it's just a 2 at this point in time, right? So at a 2, the attacker loses 2 steps, no questions asked. So let's go ahead and solve this. So the first hit has to go to the attacking guy. So that's going to be the first one. But then the second hit is my choice. So everybody kind of took a hit this turn. So I'm going to give this guy a hit as well. That's where we're going to be at right now with this game. So the Germans are doing good so far. So then finally, what we're going to do is we do the exploitation, which nobody received an exploitation marker, and then we go to the cleanup. So now the guys with the DGs, they're gone. They're back to normal for this round. They get removed. We're now to the turn 2 phase, starting with the Germans again. And it starts all over. So now I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it off camera, and then I'll let you know what the results are, and then we'll go over everything at one last shot. So here's the after action report for player turn 2 for the Germans. So one of the first things I did was, well, everybody got supplied, no problem. What I found out was best is to actually travel with that's the wagon, is to travel with the supply and push the dumps further along as I need to, so I can have all the supply I need for combat. So I've had no problems with combat, no problems with supplying everybody. The Germans didn't do so good this round. They fought for this segment right here and got pushed back a couple of times. They got hit with the Katyushas, and according to the rules, the Katyusha, once it fires, it goes off the board. So I took it off the board. This particular group right here got DG'd by some artillery fire. This guy here, he got DG'd also by the Katyushas. So all around bad round for the Germans. They took a couple of step losses. The Russians are holding strong. Okay, they also sent out a couple of BF-109s. It was stupid of me. I left one out for interception detail and the other one for dive bombing. I don't know why I did that. That was stupid. I should have brought out a JU-87. But you know, that's how you learn. So I'm finding out in this game a little bit more about supplying my guys here. I got a nice good dump right here that everybody can reach and get to. And so as far as the Germans go, logistically, they're doing fine. Some of the Russians activated their reserves and pushed them south. So they have some more guys backing them up. And now we're going on to the Soviets, player turn 2. So now the Russians are going through in their part that kind of like what the Germans did, okay? They brought in some Stukas. This guy was over here, and it was attacked by some fighters, but they didn't roll very well, and so they lost. They had to go back to their base. However, then in a reactionary phase, the Stuka came in here and basically wiped out a whole bunch of IL-2s. They couldn't defend themselves, so they had to go back. So the Germans were able to defend themselves. No flaks were successful as usual. Some barraging went back and forth, unsuccessful as usual. The Russians tried pushing into this area where the Germans are. It's been back and forth between this group and that group, but these guys took a hit. They lost one of their tank divisions, and or I should say, yeah, tank divisions, and the Germans are sitting pretty. A lot of back and forth. We'll see what happens in this the second round. It's now over with the first turn. Now we're going into the second turn. So player turn 1 in the second turn kind of went to crap for the Russians. The Russians got to go first this time around. They brought in some units. They got kicked out by the BF-109s. There were some units that were also out of supply. Some have made it, some didn't. Okay, being out of supply really sucks in this game, so make sure you don't do that. And that's only because when I set up the Russians, I did set them pretty far to the to the east. And there's my supply all the way back there. I'm now just starting to get supply to the front line. So kind of made a mistake. But that distance that Russia has, even for the Germans, there's just no way you can complete this game. I mean, maybe you can with some really good decisions. But so far, I don't think I'm making any good decisions. So the Russians are definitely going to be pushed back. And that's all I have so far. So far, Germany's holding its own. But now we're going into the last player turn 2 for turn 2, and that'll be the end of the game. Okay, everyone, so this was the final turn that I had for this learning scenario, and I wanted to share it with you. So a couple of things I learned. So the Germans mopped up the Russians down here, and that's because, if I lift you up here, I'm learning more and more about supply, okay? When I first set up the Russians, they were way over here to the east, whereas the Germans, they had a small little area here, and they were right next to their main dump. Supply in this game, in an OCS game, excuse me, I know I'm wobbly, is literally everything. The Russians were suffering from no supply to certain units. As you can see, there's one guy marked over here. I lost some units to attrition. The Germans are awesome with their air versus the Russians. So if you do play this game, you're going to face a lot of German air superiority. I would suggest, if you are the Soviets, to have your air units going at all times and have them in stacks. But in either way, nobody won. I couldn't get over to Konotop for the Soviets, and there was no way I can get to the Orel up here with the Soviets. They do have a nice line of supplied units coming down. So in perfect Barbarossa fashion, it was pretty deadlocked. What did I learn about this game? It's awesome. I do like it. There's a lot of things to think about. And of course, we didn't cover all the rules. But for the rules that we did cover, I mean, I think I'm good to start getting into, like, the bigger games. Smolensk, Barbarossa Derailed, all of them. I think we're good. Instructional series is not meant to be a replacement to the rules. I don't think that's ever a good idea. I suggest, if you're like me, I like to solo war game because I learn the rules better. And if I do play with people, they end up learning better that way because now I know the rules. That's the way I've always been all my life. But this is not a replacement. It's to give you an idea of how these things look. And at the end of the game, I think we were rolling along pretty good through the turns. Now, this is a small game. This is not a very large game. This is just one map. There are 2 maps to this game. But even with the 2 maps, compared to some of the other bigger OCS games out there, it's tiny. It will be time consuming, but I found myself rolling along through the turn sequence pretty quick. All right, so I think in the next video I do if it involves Guderian's Blitzkrieg, it'll be the full campaign, and I may just do after action reports for that to show you guys. I hope you had a good time learning. I hope that you were able to get a better understanding of how this game plays and how OCS plays. I know I did, and I appreciate every one of you for subscribing and liking my videos.